Hello and welcome to the PM show, your Wednesday roundup, everything that's new in the modelling world. And we are missing someone.
I know. It's a bit weird being on my own, to be honest.
Is it feel strange in there? It's like walking around the Big Brother house at the end of the series. Yes, no Andy this week. He's on holiday. And obviously he's spending the holiday in Mansfield.
In his living room, I think.
In his living room, probably watching this. So, hello, Andy. Anyway, so you say Andy's off this week. Various things have been going on over at the PM store. As I say, it's one of those quiet weeks, to be honest. So brace yourself for a load of chit-chat for half hour, because there isn't too much going on. As I say, I have done a few reviews. Yesterday, you would have seen the Airfix new Sabre. That was up with you yesterday, so you can see that one right now. As I say, it looks very, very nice kit. There's a few little issues which I've pointed out into the review, but generally very, very nice. And then looking at the box, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing lots of other versions of Sabres coming out along the way, because as I say, they've done it quite in a modular way to make sure you get most out of different wings. Lots of wings apparently. So there's that, and some scoops and that are on a separate sprue. So, but again, very, very nice right the way through. And the other thing, which the guys had up last week, was the F18E, which will be up with you tomorrow, the review on that, which is very, very nice kit. As a Superbug fan, I think it's actually very nice, very, very good. Box art's a bit weird. I won't go into it in depth, but these colours of the weapons are a bit... Why? Blue denotes training rounds, but you don't normally get them quite like that, and yeah, they're a bit odd. But generally, very, very nice. Looks to be a good kit. I can see myself fielding that next week. No, I won't. But I am itching to do it, though. It does look very, very nice. Good job on that one. So, yes, very good. Anyway, how's things over there, Matt?
Busy, actually. We had a really busy bank holiday weekend. So, obviously, Monday we were off. Yesterday I was back in and I'm on my own. So, I spent all day doing orders, which I got out yesterday afternoon. They all went yesterday afternoon. So, they'll be with you at some point. But, yeah, it's really, really busy weekend, to be honest.
Yes.
So,
but
quiet,
exciting?
as in new arrivals and things. It's
I
all
know, that's it.
Twiddle your thumbs, I'm afraid, this week. It's going to be... Yeah.
Hopefully, though, we've got the HK Lancaster.
Well, it's out.
48 scale one is out, so we're just waiting for it to drop through the door.
Yes, basically, yeah, for our...
for the pre-orders.
Notification that they'll be in at our supplier, and then they will be out to us. So... We're hoping by the end of the week, to be honest. I don't know if we'll have them in by the end of the week, but they're around at last, aren't they?
They are around at last, which actually, when you think in the great scheme of things, it didn't take that long, did it? You think we only found out about this a few months ago, wasn't it, that it was coming?
3 months ago? Was
3 months ago? Yeah, it was. It was this year, wasn't it? Beginning of the year? Or it was obviously late last year?
It was, yeah. I think, like we've always said, I think companies are learning the lessons now, aren't they?
Yeah, don't say anything until you've literally got it in your hand ready to go. Good again, but I think that's pretty good by HK as well, with the pandemic and everything that's going on at the moment. For them to sort of say, here it is, and then get it out and then say it got released this week. Very, very nice indeed. And again, I've seen that one of the members of Flory Models has put a review up already on it, and it looks very nice, I must admit. So you'll be okay with that one. It'll be hanging off my wall probably next year by the time I get to build it.
Yeah.
But it will be a nice one to do. A 48 scale Lancaster, let's face it, we've been after one of them since 1970. I would say 5. It was released in 3. 2 years later, everyone was bored with the Tamiya one because it's raised.
Yeah.
So let's face it, your only 2 options on that kit has always ever been the Tamiya one, and then obviously the fantastic new HK one, Hong Kong Models one. So,
Yes, now it'd be good to get them in, get them in stock, get them out to the pre-orders and stuff. And like I say, it's been long overdue. So, really nice. So, how do you reckon this new Hornet compares to the Jaguar one then, without giving too many spoilers away for the review?
That's it. We'll say in the review I do speak about it in depth, but like I speak about this one, there's only so many ways you can mould it.
Yes.
Because of the way it is. But you can see already how technically this kit is now what? I think the other one got released in around about 2006, 2007, the Hasegawa one.
Right.
So, there's been a few years between them, to say the least. So consequently, you can see how things have moved on with injection moulding. The way that they've done it is pretty much... So it is that standard sort of top-down They all are, and then obviously the underside comes up. Some of the nice touches though that sort of upgrade this one onto the other one is the wheel wells are beautifully done. Again, you know, a lot of people thought about aftermarket ones and stuff, but these are really, really nice, very tidy, going right the way through. You don't get the on the Hasegawa one, there's a plate which goes along the bottom. Okay, limitations of injection moulding back in the day. So they decided to have a separate plate that went up underneath, and then you've got like a hassle, you've got seam lines everywhere. So although it does run along a panel line, it was always a bit of a pain. This one doesn't, because they can get the moulding now right the way underneath in one, so that's quite nice with it. So generally, very, very nice. Again, wing fold system, you've got pins. Little pins and polycaps like we see with Tamiya do for the weapons fit as well, so that's quite a nice touch. So if you did want to change your weapons fit over, you can do that as well. The only drawback to it is if you want it with no weapons, you got metal pins hanging out the pylons. So you do have to think about it up front and do it like that, but that's actually very nice. The weapons fit is very good to it as well. Cockpit detail looks very nice. You get a little bit of photo etch as well for the sort of mesh netting that's behind the pilot seat. Very visible area it goes through. To be honest, one of the highlights with the entire kit was the clear parts. The clear parts are absolutely crystal clear. They're really, really nice. There is a very faint seam line running through it, but like I said, I think on another review of another kit I did the other week, it's that fine, you might want to leave it, because you have to look for it. If you look for it, you can see it. But if you're not looking, you cannot see that centre seam line. It's very, very nicely done. And it probably wouldn't take too much to get rid of it. But if you are one of those people who are a bit terrified about cleaning up clear parts, and, you know, if you're cracking it or ruining it, you could just leave it and get away with it. Because again, I didn't even spot the one on the front one, and I'm looking for it. Then eventually, if you catch it right in the right light, you can see its tiny little, like, minute line in there. So it's like, it has got one. But you really, really have to struggle to look for it. Get the magnifiers on for it. Drawback to it though, and it's my new rant, it does come with Pete Mitchell's colour scheme. As I say in the review, not to be confused with Phil Mitchell. But yeah, it has got the Top Gun 2 markings onto it, and I just don't like them. It's not that I detest them, but I don't get excited over them. It's just that blue stripe, but also it's got if you've seen the promos for it, the trailers, they have like a logoed US markings, but they're clipped at the side. It's got those for it, and it's like, no, just stop it. Put some proper markings on it and all the rest of it. But I know the reality is, obviously the aircraft was painted in those colours for the filming of it and all the rest of it. We've all seen probably the real photos of it and everything else like that. So yes, of course, if you wanted to do a reenactment of whatever it's going to be, because obviously it should have been out last year, the film, but they do come with those markings into it. If not, you do get obviously these ones as well, which I can't remember, VFA 31, isn't it, with the high vis markings, and then you get somebody else's as well for low vis. They're very nice. So anyway, cartograph markings as well, really, really nice. Like I said before, it is that thing when you look at the price of that kit, then you look at the price of the Hasegawa ones, you're probably going to go down that route, because it's more modern one. You've got the ECS pipes on the back, and you do get the old versions as well, so it generally is really, really nice. Quite excited to see the F, which is the 2-seat version, and the G, the Growler, as well. So because I prefer the shape of those 2-seaters of those. I think look better than the single seat. But overall, I think from a modelling point of view, it's going to be your go-to Super Hornet build. It's really, really nice actually. It'd be interesting to put it together and see how it actually goes together. This is just purely looking at the plastic, but generally the detail is all there. It's very, very nice on those. So yes, exciting times.
Cool. Oh, good.
Definitely.
Yeah. So again, to be honest, it's another kit that's a bit long overdue an upgrade, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it is, because that's the trouble. You say the Hasegawa one is, I think, a Block 5. So it's the very earliest of the early ones of it, and now they're completely different. They've got different various bits and pieces in the cockpit. Obviously, we talk about these ECS, which are these pipes at the back for the cooling system. And again, it's just one of those ones where you can get replacements, but they're aftermarket, probably going to cost you, I don't know, 5, 10, something else like that to do it. You can get obviously the cockpit bits as well to do that one, but by the time you spent that money, you might as well get this kit. So
yeah, it's not like the other guy ones. The kit is it or even a 40 quid kit. It's
when you're looking at we were discussing it yesterday, wasn't it? The Hasegawa kits still go for somewhat of a premium, even their older stock. And then obviously, as we know, it has been reboxed, the Hasegawa version of this one, in what was it called? Was it just called Superbug? The
Edard one.
Yeah. So did it have a catchy name, or did they just call it Superbug or something?
I say it's one of them, I don't know whether in the future it will be a sought after kit. Like normally the limited edition ones, I think it is so expensive.
Yes.
It's just not sold. People aren't interested in it. So it could be one of them, obviously, when it's not in production, which I presume it's out of production now. It's just obviously surplus stock that's knocking around that you can buy. It might become a collector's one. I don't know, to be honest with that. It's just never took off like tornadoes.
No, nothing's taken off like a tornado. It's weird.
I don't know obviously how it is with the US market. I don't know how it's sold over there. But over here, it's not really taken to it. I don't think.
Again, I think it was a price point because the kit on its own, I think, is something like 65 quid, isn't it? Then the Edard version came in as well, and that pushed it up a little bit more. I think it's 75 quid, wasn't it? It's a lot of money for a 48 scale 15-year-old kit. So I think that was the problem. And also, I think, although you got some great markings with it, there was not much aftermarket-y bits in it. I don't think they were doing tons of like resin and stuff either. It's pretty basic type of rebox. But again, I didn't get it. It's one of those. Normally, you know what I'm like with them. They're all here. So you get them and you're like, oh, box art, it's fantastic. It's got a great kit, got beautiful markings, and all the rest of it. But that one was like, I don't know if it's because I've built so many Hornets over the years, but it just never appealed to me at all. So weird. And also, to be honest, I always thought they were going to do the F. I thought they would do the 2-seater version or a growler, but they never did. So it's like, okay. So,
I don't know. Like I say, it just never. It just didn't catch people's imagination, I suppose. I don't know why it is. Just one of them, isn't it? It's a misses and all that in the hobby.
Yes. Yeah, it might become very sought after in years to come.
It probably will, because it'd be some of the weird and wacky ones that have done is like why they've done that, but then they become very collectible because they weren't very popular in the first place. So.
No, and like we've said before, we've had situations through the company, isn't it, where you've had stuff and you think that's not going to be a good seller, and literally everyone proves us wrong every time, and we just can't get hold of enough of them. And other things we think are going to be fantastic, and no.
You can't judge it.
You can't judge it sometimes.
You can't judge it. You just, you take a chance really, and I think that's why doing the pre-orders as we do the pre-orders, you can gauge the public's reaction to certain things before it's actually released.
Yeah,
which I don't think is a bad thing.
No,
because then it sort of does give you a measure of how popular it's going to be, or not, as the case may be.
It is. Speaking of which, should we go over and have a look at those? If we just pop over to, hold on, I'm in the wrong section. If we just go to PM's area, there we go. So, as I say, we have had to lock it down because how many tornadoes have we got coming in?
A lot. Over a ton.
Over 100, yeah. So that pre-order's now been shut down. I did notice that Edard are releasing a load of aftermarket in various scales for the Tornado as well. It's like tornado season because they're doing the Brimstone missiles in various 30-second scales as well, and all things like that as well now, and all the bits for it. It's almost like they've seen, my God, we never knew they were that popular, and suddenly going for it as well. So 48 scale has been absolutely amazing. 70-second has gone huge. So yes. Interesting on that one. The ICM Cobra, first up.
Yes.
So
again, we showed that last week, didn't we? Again, we're kind of struggling for new pre-orders because it's really slow this year, which we knew it was going to be. So, it's going to be as and when we get stuff that I think is going to be interesting that we're putting it up. And so there's a lot of stuff in there that's either locked or just. To come in, and it's just waiting for stuff to replace it. So
yes, that's it. So as I say, we've got the various ones we spoke about down in there the other day. Some stuff, obviously, as we spoke about before, is coming in as we speak. So yes, it is just a case into it. There's that HK Lancaster, which obviously we've got quite a few pre-orders on that one. So that's the one we
There
were
you go.
talking about, which is come in now.
Well, yeah, hopefully soon it will be here.
So
It
as
goes
I say,
down to your full review.
I must admit, I'm looking forward to doing that one. And I know because obviously you're currently working on the Big Brother front end.
I am, yes. And I'm about to pull the trigger on another upgrade.
Oh, what's it having now?
The cockpit, because I was on about the instrument panel on it, and it's
Yeah.
just lacking. Well, Airscale actually do a nice upgrading for the radios and everything, so I think I'm just going to pull the trigger and go the whole hog and
Have it all.
make an effort with it, shall we say? Because I've got the seat belts like I've shown, so we're going to try the 3D printed ones because I know you've got the Quinta ones. Is it
got
you've
the Quinta ones here to do for this one as well. So we're going to be experimenting with 3D resin.
Yes, basically, yeah. So mine are the Kits World ones.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, being me, I have a Mastec.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, with all due respect, I don't blame you. Like a Lancaster without a Mastec is like.
Yeah. Well, at least.
Speaking of Mastec, I do have to say this comes with one.
Does it?
Yes, it comes with a die-cut Mastec for it as well.
Wow.
So I forgot about that actually. Yes, it's in the review, but I actually had to do a double take that it was properly cut and all the rest of it. So I got the magnifiers out during the review. But I think this is us. We're now getting the modelling world online by saying should come with a Mastec or at least print it out. But it does come with a Mastec as well.
Do you know
so
what?
That's really good.
I think our technology's moved on and talking about Mastecs. When if you are doing like a World War II bomber, say, or even stuff related with a lot of glass. Why not put one in?
Yes.
I think people would pay, even if you charge a little bit extra. I think people would pay.
Yes, definitely.
Because of the hassle of masking up clear parts. I don't like it for a start. But I mean, you used to be a.
Well, yeah, I must admit, I've completely done a 180 because I always used to say, for the time it takes me to stick these down, I can just cut around and do it. That and I stand by that in some ways, but the classic is obviously I'm working on the Zero at the moment. The Zero is like a greenhouse on top.
Yeah.
And this is a classic example. When you run your nail up against the window, the framing's very soft.
Yeah.
So if you've got like a hard edge and there's a proper mark, it's easy. You can go along with a cocktail stick or a toothpick and rub it in and then cut around it. No problem. Nice, good, sharp edges. But like this is a classic example. They are very soft. And it'd be very easy for your knife to jump and to jump out of the area. And to obviously then, worst case scenario is you cut the clear part because that ain't going to ever fix. So, so from this point of view, this one is a classic example of, do you know what? Easily, I would always get a Mastec for it. But also the thing is, as soon as you get into that thing where if it's like a modern jet and it's just two, then so be it. I might still, as quick as to do it. But when it's lots of stuff like this, then I wouldn't even entertain it now. And as I say, when I did the B-52, the classic example was that ball turret. The ball turret, I tried to use bare metal foil for masking, and I think I did 3 windows and then just pulled my hair out. I was literally like, do you know what? I'm going to buy a Mastec. That time it took me to do those 3 windows, I masked the entire thing with a Mastec. And then obviously you afterwards just peeling them off, they come off a lot easier than when you've done it yourself as well, and all stuff like that. And again, it's that sharpness that sometimes know your limitations. That sharpness and the angles are obviously been cleverly worked out. As we were saying, making Mastecs is a little bit of an art form. It's not as straightforward as a lot of people think because it's curved surfaces and sometimes complex surfaces. You have to allow for all of these different angles. So actually it's one of those things that looks quite straightforward, but if you had to design it, it's something else to try and do.
Do you know when they design them? I don't know how this works for obvious, as I'm going to say in a minute, but do they actually take the part and sort of scan it and then flatten it?
Yeah, well, this is the point, isn't it?
So
I
you can
don't
get
know.
the right shapes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because without dropping names here, we've spoken to a designer who was actually saying it's not easy to do a Mastec as we thought, because we did say to them about you've got to put a Mastec in with it, and they were like, that's not as straightforward. And we were like, yeah, but you've got all the CAD. Yeah. And you've got, so surely it's straightforward. And as they were pointing out, it's not actually that straightforward. It's a real maths equation to try and work it out because of the curves. So yeah, it does make you wonder if they get the original part and then trace it on the curve, and then just say flatten it. That's your curves you need to do it to, and then all the rest of it, which would be an easier way of doing it. But yes, very, very in depth. Our hats go off to people who make mast sets. They're the unsung heroes of the modelling thing.
But you think now, Edard started it, didn't they? They were the originators in it, because they used to do vinyl ones first back in the day, didn't they? And now obviously they moved on to the proper tape.
Yes.
And then obviously Montex and there's P-Wit and these, I don't know,
loads now,
There's loads of companies who are springing up who are doing it because they've listened to us basically and said there's a market for it. I don't know, just say. But joking aside, there is a big market for mast sets. Who'd know? 20 years ago, you wouldn't have said that, would you?
No.
Let's be honest. You wouldn't have said there's going to be a big market in a mast set. But, Edard's pioneered it, really. I can't.
Absolutely.
Did anybody actually do it before then? I don't think they did.
I don't think so. I can't think of anyone who ever did them before, but
because obviously you built a lot more aircraft than I did back in the day. So you were back with your Tamiya tape and your knife.
Yeah, I was a lot of Tamiya tape, but I was aware of Edard was the one. As I say, I remember the old version they did, but it was that bloody awful tape.
Vinyl.
It wasn't good. But when they switched over to the proper tape, it was like a bit of a thing. But but the thing is, masking generally, you think last year we sort of saw the thing about camo pans on aircraft. I used one on for the first time. The Top Notch sent me a couple of sets, and I did them on the little Armour Hobby. Armour Hobby Hurricane 72nd. And having never used one before and thinking it's a bit of a gimmick, isn't it? And also I'm thinking about because obviously it's a hard edge camo because it's a mask, and I would always do sort of freehand and feather and all those different things. So I really thought, do you know what, I'm going to give it a whirl, but I had no expectations of it really at all, because I thought it was mainly for people who can't spray. It was like put it down and just blow it on and then you're good to go, but actually it turned out beautiful. Very, very nice, very easy to use. And if you've never used them before and you struggle with camo pans, let's face it, of World War II and modern even, then I seriously have a look at them, because the price you actually pay for the grief that you'll save and the quality you'll get from it, they are very, very nice. They're very easy to use, because obviously you're putting down a base colour, then you mask it, then you put your top colour over the top, so forth and so on. And they've worked out, as I said, all these angles to make it go around the fuselage and all those things. And it works really very well. And the finish, I was worried about the edges. Totally unfounded. It worked. It absolutely worked. With the weathering on top of it, it just looks spot on. Definitely can see it. So between masking, as you say, we've often said about this, between cockpits now that are full colour, masking sets for camo and everything, there's not a lot left now. That's it. You're running out of things, isn't it? Where everything's painted or masked for you these days, and now we've got 3D stuff coming down the line as well, all pre-done. It's like, modelling's getting a lot easier. All the detail work's going. So, and I've now started using pens now for colouring in even. So that's it. I've really done it now.
The thing is, though, do you think it's adding or taking away?
I think it's enhancing. I would say it enhances it.
Right. Oh, that's it, enhancing.
I'm going to play on the fence. Because again, I'm very honest with this. I am terrible at doing detailed instrument panels and stuff like that. So that's why I use pens, because I can literally draw it on instead of trying to paint it and all the rest of it. So for a long time now, instrument panels, have been fantastic. And I think who's the one? Is it Yuma?
Yahoo. Yeah.
That was the first one I used, and that was absolutely like a night and day. I used it on the Mosquito, and to have the dials, and they're behind glass, and you've got the difference in the colours, and you can see the instruments as well. They are far better than, let's face it, Edard's printed ones look a bit icky sometimes, especially close up. They're a bit grainy, And now we were saying, because obviously we looked at these the other day, there will be a full review on these. The great thing with these is they've somehow done the dials with a clear gloss on them. And as you catch these in the light and you move it around, it sparkles, and you get that nice, the reflectivity in the cockpit. So as you'll be looking at your models, it will catch it. And it's what I would call perfectly in scale. It's not over the top, and I've tried to recreate that by using PVA glues and glosses and stuff. But again, the quality of the printing is photorealistic. So you can see the dials, you can see the arrows, you can see the actual hands of the clocks in there and the various things on the analog stuff. And it just absolutely looks fantastic. I could never do that. Even if I was to spend weeks trying to recreate that, it would never look that good. So, having the thing where it takes you 2 minutes, okay, you buy it and it's a shortcut, but it's something I could never produce. So why not? I
totally agree with you. It's a shame half of them are buried under a that you can't see them, isn't it?
It's Wheel-Well syndrome.
It's just a little bit, but it's there. But I know what you mean by enhancing, and I think as well, like with the painting of cockpits, you're limited to how detailed the cockpit actually is out of the box.
Yeah,
aren't you?
Yes.
Which I think is where probably Edard got their ideas from to do a zoom set, because of the limitations of the kits they was probably doing it for.
Yeah.
Obviously as technology progresses and all that, they do get more detailed. So, I agree with you. I mean, a Mastec for me is a must if I'm doing an aircraft without thinking about it, and obviously seatbelts. And if if these seatbelts work, I hope they're going to do.
Yes.
Then again, 3D printing, which I think is just going to explode anyway.
Yeah.
It's just going to save a lot of time and effort, even compared to steel ones and stuff. Or the other option is the HGW fabric ones, where you're literally making them from scratch.
Yeah.
Aren't you? Like a proper seatbelt. And again, if you've got the patience, the eyesight, the tweezers, they look fantastic. Don't get me wrong. And especially if you're doing World War One stuff where you've got an open cockpit and you can see it, or you can put the canopies back or open. I think then 32nd scale, 24th scale, the bigger scales. I think if you're going, I don't think they're just 72nd, but even 48th is getting a bit.
Yeah, it is getting tiny.
A bit small for that.
Yeah.
But I think this where these, if they're as flexible and as malleable as I hope they're going to be, you can position them and make them look natural. We'll see. We'll see what happens with them. But interesting times.
It is. I think, as you said before, 3D printing, let's face it, we're now getting parts that are 3D printed coming down the line. We're getting technically it's photo etch, but it's 3D printed, coloured photo etch and stuff like that becoming mainstream now. Quinta Studios, I must admit, they're releasing tons. One of our suppliers stocks them, and it's wall to wall with them in there, and you're like, crikey, they're literally doing everything, which is like fair play as well. So again, really exciting to use them. Never used them before, so next week's show I'll be cursing, saying I'm going back to Yahoo. Or
We're back to Kits World. I noticed they're actually doing 3D webbing for figures.
Oh right, yeah, interesting, yeah.
So in 35th scale as well. Which I don't know about looking at them, but could be a little bit fiddly, shall we say, in that scale. I'm thinking if you go to a bit bigger scale, I can see that working a lot better, but look more natural, more in scale, more scale thickness. Probably like that. I don't know about in 35th. Because normally
35th's getting very fine. It's like 16th scale figures, the perfect for it. It would hang right,
But again, I'm thinking, obviously, with even resin or styrene figures, it's already moulded on. So you've got to remove that before you can put it back on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jury's out without really looking at them. But I can see. I don't know if it's going to be worth the effort with that, to be honest.
I think it's just that thing, isn't it? When you're detailing up small figures, the gap you would have between the item and the body, or if it's for the natural hang, you can't really see it. But when you're into the larger scales, they look very moulded when they're literally, it's all stuck to them. So you have that natural thing where it's hanging separate and all the rest of it. So I can understand the point of view to actually doing those. And as you say, apparently you treat them like decals, so it'd be interesting to see when they're dry how they adhere and how they look, and how they form, isn't it?
As well, I mean, not a daft question, but I suppose a question: do you have to put any solutions on these, or do they naturally?
Well, this is it. I can only speak for these. Apparently, these adhere just like a decal. So, and then
But
obviously
that settling down, that's what I'm on about.
that's it. Does it? Yeah, that's what I've said as well. Is that obviously flat things, no problem at all, because instrument panels. But as I say, I've got the same thing. I've got harnesses here. How does that conform around a seat? Or if you've got the pilot in there, how it's going to go around the crew and all of those things. Is it going to be like a decal and it's going to just go across, or is it going to properly melt onto them, or is it going to just sit on top? It'd be interesting to see. As I say, I'm going to do mine as like a review as part of this build, so I can sort of do it in once. So there'll be lots of close-ups and stuff, and that'll be out on there as well when I get round to it, probably end of the week. So yes.
Yeah, it'd be interesting little experiment to see how they fare really and how they look. So
yeah, or we'll be sat here saying, "We give us another week. We've getting some bed odd stuff in."
Yeah. Put the order in. Got some more coming because I've made a mess of those. Which will probably be about right for mine, if I'm honest.
Yes, that's it. I can see mine going really well until I try and do the harnesses and they crack and split and fall apart. But we will see. The jury's out, as I say. Be interesting to see.
It will, definitely. Shall we do some questions?
I think we'll do some questions. Right, okay, so over to questions for Shawls. And let's just pop into Wednesday show. Okay, so up at the top here, we've got one from Mike. He says, a couple of weeks ago, Matt mentioned a good photo etch primer for preparing the surfaces for painting. What was it?
It was Mr. Metal Primer, which we've sold out of.
Oh,
so I can't even show you the bottle of it. Phil might edit one in. But we're out of it. We sold out over the weekend, actually, of what stuff we had. But yeah, Mr. Metal Primer, which is really just an etch primer. It's a clear etch primer.
Yes.
So do you know what my actual theory is on this?
Yes.
Is actual proper etch primer. As in automotive etch primer.
Right, okay.
Would probably do the same. Or etching primer. Do you know what I mean? That's it. That's the one.
That's the one.
I don't know. Might have to look into that a little bit, I think.
Because I'll be honest, I've never used this stuff, so as I say, I don't know. The primer that I use, which is the Mr. Surfacer primer,
yes,
which is that one. Claims, I say claims because I've never actually tried it, that it's supposed to be. This is the new one, and it's more enhanced for photo etch and white metal.
Yeah.
And I can say I have sprayed over photo etch with it, and it has gone down and it's covered just like a primer has and everything else. But again, as I say, it's just been airbrushed over the top, which is a little bit of a false type thing. But yeah, so that did do the trick as well, because apparently it is enhanced for it. But not because I don't work that much with those mediums. I wouldn't know if it's good or not,
Well,
it just did the trick.
It's good if it don't release itself from the photo etch, because all it is that one you were shown before is an acid etch.
Yeah.
Is a clear acid etch primer. So that, obviously that primer, so if they're claiming it must have some sort of acid etch in it or something to adhere to metal, or it would just flake off.
Yeah. Yeah, so, because as I say, I must admit, I know John uses this stuff as well, doesn't he?
Yes.
So
yeah, and it is nice because obviously when you're spraying your primer on, your primer in that stuff, you can just brush on the parts. If you, I've seen people use it on obviously armour builds, and if you've got photo etch clamps and all delicate stuff, so all you do is take like a little brush, probably smaller than this, dip it in the jar and just brush it on where you need it rather than covering the old kit, and then primer over it as normal.
So you don't attack kit one of these then?
No, not really. No.
I did have an accident the other day where I was watching something, looked down and it had just gone.
Oh dear.
It just burnt it completely. I was like, oh dear, never mind. Well, won't worry about that. Didn't need one of them anyway.
No. Do you know what? I've bought one of them and I've not used it yet. I'm dying to, because it's like a brulayer in it.
That is a brulayer. That one is a Russell Hobbs or whatever
is it?
version.
Mine was a Lidl special, but I've not had a chance to use it yet. So.
I just stole it out of the kitchen. I used to have one of these little ones, but to be honest, it was forever out of gas. I don't know if it had a leak or something, but that one's fine. So I've only ever filled it up once and it's still going well. But I tend to use it on harnesses. So like when I did the S860, I wanted the harnesses to hang properly instead of being flat and horrible. And to be honest, the photo etch is really thick. So you just whack it with one of them and it will literally, it basically just kills it off and just makes it hang naturally and all the rest of it. Trouble is, you go too far, it will literally just turns red and then disappears.
Yeah.
It just melts it.
It's annealing, isn't it? It
is annealing.
Changing the property of the metal or something. Not
yes.
a chemist or anything, but because you can get them like pencil butane torches, can't you?
Yeah, that's what I used to have. Yeah.
Are they for soldering?
Yeah, you can use them for soldering, or like they do, the woodwork where they burn, or what?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called now.
I know what you mean.
Arson.
Yeah.
But etching, yeah, I can't remember what it's called. That it's got a proper name, isn't it? But yes, so it's used for that because you can put nibs on them. But basically, it's got a little butane blowtorch behind it and then goes in. But you can use it for soldering. And I did have one of those. If you look back through them, I used to have a little clicky one, and it worked great. But then I don't know. I think it got a leak because no matter how much I filled it up, when I ever needed it, I'm like click, click, click. It was always empty. So anyway, that's why I've grabbed that. And to be honest, it's lived in here ever since. The other half will be saying, "Where's the creme brulee?" Like we ever have that in this household.
Brulee a lot.
We had it for that one time trying to be posh.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tony says, Matt Phil, Matt, thank you for the informing build on the Jaguar E-Type. I have a question. What colour did you use for the inside bottom of the chairs? And how did you realise the shadow finish of it before weathering?
I used, because I haven't got it here, I'm sure I showed it on the video. It was a Aqueous colour H. It was a dark red of Aqueous, and I don't know what the colour is, to be honest, off the top of my head. I'm back on tomorrow, so watch tomorrow's show and I'll find which one it was. And literally, I didn't weather it, I don't think. I just sprayed it on and it was just natural shadows of the colour. I'm trying to think back, to be honest. It's amazing, isn't it? It's not that long ago. And
I'm the same.
What I did. I'd have to watch the video again. But I don't think I actually weathered the interior because you don't see it. I just saw, a dark red and on the door cards and stuff. I might have used the dark wash, actually, thinking about it. I might have used the MIG dark wash. Because I definitely did that on the door cards. Blimey, I'm going to have a look. and I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll have to rewatch what I've done.
That's it, rewatch. Okay.
But yeah.
Mike says, hi team, a question for Matt and Andy. Do you maybe by chance know when the next shipment of Great War Hobbies is coming into Europe? I'm still waiting on the 148 scale MiG-29 SMT. I have ordered one last June at my local Swiss online shop. I asked them if they knew a delivery date, but they could not answer my question. Many thanks, Mike.
No, there is one due this year. That I do know. I just don't know when. I don't know when, but it's been delayed. I think it got delayed. I think I spoke to Gary at Tiger Hobbies, who obviously brings in Great Wall Hobbies, because we had a delivery earlier on in the year, wasn't it? With the house. Yeah. So
and that was delayed, wasn't it? That was a long wait for that one coming in.
Yeah, it was, but that was mainly to do with them and some bobs. I think it might be a container thing for this one again. Usual thing to say. But there is one on its way. I can't remember what date he gave me, to be honest. But and I think the SMTs are on that order for us. I don't know when you're going to get them in Europe, because I don't know who your distributor is in Europe for Great Wall Hobbies.
To be honest, because obviously you are in Europe, you're probably better off finding what the European importer is and having a word with them, because that's where your source is going to come from rather than ours, I think.
Yeah, our source is completely separate, and I think it always has been anyway.
Yeah.
When we was part of the EU, so you need to find out who the importer is for Great Wall Hobbies and send a message to them, really.
Yes. Okay, Graham says, hi gents, since you are now stocking AK Real Colours, I was wondering if any of you have tried number 500, 501 and 502 of their varnishes. Have you used any of their varnishes yet? I haven't yet, no.
We've only had it in 2 weeks, haven't we?
Yeah.
Top, so no, I've not had anything to try their varnishes on, so I can't see them being rubbish.
No. To be honest, I'm sort of trying to work my way through all the other ones I've got at the moment. So.
Yeah. I think that's the problem. It's I've got.
To be honest, if you look at the way their paint goes down and all the rest of it, that's usually a good indicator of what the varnishes are going to be like as well. So if you tend to get a good paint, like we've often said, Tamiya's, flat coat is very nice, and the gloss coat works really well. So the paints work well.
I was going to say, I would treat them as in, because he's saying spraying and clean up. Now, obviously not using them, but like the LP range of their clear coats, the LP9s, and I can never remember what the other two are, but I would treat them very similar to that.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So, because I must admit, I use like the Tamiya's flat ones and the LP line of them, and I've got all of them, and I've almost, to be honest, I think I'm out of the flat as well. Of that, they all spray beautifully well. Lacquer based, again, what can't really go wrong with them. They work really well, dry quick.
And then clean up lacquer thinners, blow it through your airbrush, and good to go.
Yeah, so no problem. One more question. I have several shades of olive drab, 4 different bottles of number 23, 24, 25, 26. How different are they? I tell you, it's technical. They're all slightly different shades of olive drab, depending if it was sprayed on Monday the 18th, June the 18th, or Saturday the 3rd.
Do you know what it is? Is obviously they are different. Obviously, different shades of olive drab. I don't know if they're all them. They're the US versions of it. All they are is just going to be different hues of either browner or greener.
Because if I remember rightly, because the olive drab is one of those ones where it's a complete rabbit hole, and often on this show we do go down these rabbit holes with different colours of different things, and it is what they've done is I think they've tried to cover the spectrum, because there has been different shades of olive drab over different theatres. Some armour was done in one version of it, other things were done in different ones. Wasn't it? So
I mean, to be honest with you, if he actually goes on our site and clicks on it, there's a colour chip.
And so you can have a look
with each colour, so you can see what shade is what shade. And I say olive drab weather's like hell anyway, or it did. So
and that is the thing, isn't it? So
you can get to town with olive drab. It's one of them great colours where you can just, have fun with it.
Yes. Where are we? Here they all are. So these are the ones we were talking about. So it's okay. We sold out of that one. But yeah, these are the ones. But again, you have got the sort of the numbers. Number 922. You've got the faded version. Number 31 of it. And obviously this is the more modern version. 3487, I think, was isn't that like the Vietnam era olive drab?
I don't know.
It's the late one, isn't it?
I don't know, yeah.
So yeah, and obviously the different versions in between. And again, throughout the war, olive drab changed, I think, as things went on with it. So all they've done is I think they've taken a bit of a range of the olive drabs to give the modeler a choice of. But as I say, I remember years ago, there was I think it was on the Flory Models forum, but somebody put up about a B25 in olive drab and how it's the wrong colour. And it's like, but if you look at other ones, and you are into that realm, and again, like Matt said, they fade. So one of those is the faded version of it as well. So it saves you having to put in a bit of yellow or something in there to sort of fade it through. They've sort of got your back covered on that one as well. But olive drab is, I think there's different versions between everyone's, isn't it? It's a bit like khaki as well, and khaki drab, the differences, and apparently people have said depending on.
It's all relevant to when it was mixed, what they used to mix it in. It's just you just don't go there.
Like we've often said, if you often get confused about like which shade I would do, try and find a reference and go for that. Literally say, I'm going to do it in that colour, and you just do it. And then if somebody turns around at the end of the day and says, look, it's the wrong colour, blah, 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 you can say, look, I went off of this photo, looks all right to me, because that's what we do. Yeah. Andy Manning says, not a question, just a thanks to the team and to let Matt and Andy know my paint arrived today. This was Tuesday, that was yesterday. Well done, Andy. I spoke to Andy's lovely wife while shopping on Saturday. Jim says, it seems an ages since S&M announced that the Westland Wasp and Scout, both 48 scale and 72nd scale, but it looks as though the Wasp may be imminent in both scales. Okay, we'll cut this slightly short. Obviously, I don't know if you're aware, but the owner of S&M Models sadly died on Saturday after a heart attack. So obviously our thoughts and prayers and everything go out to him and his family.
Yeah, absolutely.
I must admit, I've had a couple of people message me already, and like I have pointed back to everyone, Jesus, give it a chance. Like, what's going to happen? We don't know. Haven't spoken to anybody. As I say, I'm sure it's very raw at the moment, so we just give them all a lot of space.
You've got to think, if he's died of a heart attack, it's sudden, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, so it's not like he's had a long illness and then, he's had time to
prepare.
To prepare for it. You know, he's obviously had a massive heart attack and unfortunately passed away. So
yes,
yeah,
But no, definitely our thoughts and condolences, obviously for him, the family, and obviously everybody who's connected with them as well. But as I say, this literally was Saturday, so we are very much in the raw state of it at the moment.
Yeah.
Mike said, let's talk about paint.
Let's
not about Luftwaffe colours. Dark Ghost Grey. Phil, I know you thought Tammy LP36 was a little blue. I finished my SH60B and now think it was a lot blue. AK Real Colours. Where's the U? Well, no, they're doing it correctly. Without the U, is it?
Oh, what ghost do you mean?
No, it's in colours without a U, isn't it?
Oh, right. Sorry, I'm like, what? Hey, what? I'm lost there. What's going on? Right,
That's it. Okay. Looks closer to my source in question. Okay, so here we go down a rabbit hole. I will only say one thing to this. Don't forget, when I built mine, because I've built that kit as well, mine is exactly the same as my reference photo. So if you go back and watch my build, I put it up on the screen and I say I'm doing that. And mine is actually, I would say, 100% to it. Also, and I have a disclaimer here, a friend of mine who actually flies these things, and I said to him, what do you think? And he goes, looks good to me, because that's the colour they are when they're new. So what we're thinking is they fade, like, ghost grey, navy, sand, water, sea, salt. It all kills surfaces of aircraft very, very quickly. So clearly, I won't worry about it. Honestly, I don't think it's one of those things that I'll get too het up with. But again, they've done a dark ghost grey, apparently 320, the same one. And he's put up how different it is in the shade of it. Although with the cap off, look, it doesn't look that far out to each other. Also, it is that thing of when it sprays, often they change. You look at a paint, I've done it before, looked in the bottle and gone, that doesn't look right. But when you actually airbrush it and it goes on and it dries, and you get a contrast colour next to it, it looks absolutely fine. I've done it before, especially spraying green as well,
A good reference for that is the new red-brown for Tamiya for the German tricolour World War II scheme.
Yeah.
It looks green. Because I had Kev message me about it because I sent him a bottle. He bought a bottle off us and I sent it to him. And he was like, he questioned and it said, does it look green? And then he sprayed it and he says it's perfect. So paints do dry different from sometimes how they look wet.
Yes.
I have it a lot with acrylics, are notorious for it, to be honest. Painting the figures and stuff. How they go down and how they dry are completely different.
Yes.
And then they fade as well. Once obviously the water and everything's evaporated, they look really, really bright and stark. And you give it a day and go back and it's just died. It's just like that pop's gone.
Yes.
But he did. If you just follow on his thing, it's my question to both you and Matt is, when do you just drop a colour from the stash and warn people that it's just not in the ballpark?
Again, it's one of those things, isn't it, where it depends. Like you're saying that colour's not correct. Yeah, I would say it is, because again, it's that personal choice, isn't it, of what reference you've gone with and what source you've gone with. So
surely it's personal choice, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say it's personal choice. I wouldn't say you would drop it and tell people to look out for it. You can question it, and to be honest, like we said before, paint manufacturers sometimes do get it completely wrong.
Yeah.
We've spoken to Attacker about some of their colours, and they did replace and change as things were spoken about. And I know other manufacturers have completely got it wrong, and it's been pulled, and then they've redone it as well. So again, at least normally they're on top of it. But again, you're talking about a colour which, again, it's that thing. Depends on what day it was painted. Because obviously, if you look at mine, selfless plug. But you see, mine looks more blue. You know, it's just because of the way it is. But I went off of a reference photo, which I will stand by and say it looks just like that. You know, so
Yeah, I'm looking at his and yours, and they both look the same colour.
yeah,
They've got that blue tint to them.
yeah.
And actually, quite like the colour. I think it's really quite a nice.
What I'll do by the power of editing, I'll superimpose my reference shot onto it. And you'll see that as well now. So, you know, you can get a bit of an idea with it. The thing is as well, with Ghost Greys, it's got that thing where if you see a brand new F-18 Hornet, because this is the same colour scheme it has the dark Ghost Grey on the top, the light Ghost Grey underneath. When they are brand new, you can see they are totally different colours. But honestly, you get one that's been on board the carrier for a while, and especially has been out in the Middle East, and then it comes back, you can't really see the difference anymore. The demarcations are very fine, because the top one is just lightened in so much through it being bleached, and then the underside one's got really dirty and grubby. So that big difference between new and old has now got a lot closer. You know, and a lot of people think that these are just one colour because they're old and they just look grey all over, but actually it's not. They are two different colours, top and bottom, and that's just a thing over time. They tend to fade in like everything. And again, I know it sounds like a cop-out, but I often say, if you allow for weathering, you just get your colour in the ballpark of, and then because, you know, like mine have washes over it and all the rest of it, it changes it. You know, you don't have that original colour anymore. So especially if you're dealing with armour and perhaps you're weathering it a lot more heavily, as long as you're in the ballpark of, because you're putting all these things which are acting like filters or glazes or whatever you want to call it over the top, you're going to change that hue of that colour all the way through.
What I've learned is you're better off going lighter, because you put weathering products is normally darker. So like you've said, you're adding a filter, so you're going to darken your base colour anyway. So if you go lighter to begin with, you don't go too dark.
No, that's right. Yeah.
And I think that's the problem I've had in the past, is you put like, say, XF60 on, so if you're doing a German tank and all the thing, and then you weather it, and the sand colour just goes really dark because you're putting a brown wash on, or which then acts as a filter, and then all your other bits and bobs built on top. So if you lighten it up with some buff deck tan and go lighter, and then it will naturally darken back to probably a nearer shade of a colour when you've finished. So it's all relevant for people's tastes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And again, you know, you've got that thing like we said before, is that your model, you've got a reference of it. I would literally just work to that, and then that way, if you feel the need, which nobody ever has to, and you do want to say that's why I've done it that colour, then fair enough, you do it.
But we're back to that. Why should you have to explain it?
It is, absolutely. Yeah, you know, why you should have to justify the reason you painted your model that colour is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't have to do it. You know, if he painted that thing bright orange, that's up to him. If he's happy with it at the end of the day,
absolutely.
Who cares?
Yes.
It's that, isn't it? It's that artistic thing.
Definitely, it is. Artistic license for all artists here.
Yeah.
Some type of artist.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that'll do us for today then. We're all sorted.
Yeah.
So obviously me and Matt will be with you again live tomorrow night at 7:30. We've got the live show on there, and on Friday again. So you've got us all week on this particular one. Yeah. Matt's going to now be busy trying to work out how to put his Lancaster front end together. I'm going to be busy working on an engine for the Zero this afternoon. That's my plan for this one. And obviously we'll go from there. So as I said, tomorrow obviously you'll get the review up for the F-18 Hornet. So Saber's up with you now. Obviously, as I said before, you can grab all your stuff, and obviously as we've dropped in, hinted, we do carry the entire of the singles now. We have got some that have gone out of stock, which is amazing, because to be honest, we brought in tons of the stuff, but we've already got a reorder in, so hopefully that'll be with us within the next couple of weeks as well. So if there is anything out of stock, just remember, just pop in and then come along, and then this little box here, pop your email address in it, click sign up. What that does is put you on a wait list. Okay, we got an email then of you. As soon as it comes in stock, you'll be sent an email to say it's in stock, and away you go. And this is the little colour chip, you see? So each one has got a little colour chip under it.
I tell you what, I picked a brilliant one with flat white for the colour chip.
It is, yeah. I couldn't have done that better. Shall I pick another one?
That's brilliant. Pick a different colour.
Yeah, let me pick an olive drab look. So look, faded olive drab looks like that. So they've all got the colour chips on them as well.
I wonder how actually close it is to the...
Yeah, I was going to say, so that's where you need a bit of plastic card and then go, right. And then you go to my other monitor and it might be right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So so don't forget, you get all your single bottles and all your various bits and pieces down in there as well. And on Friday, hopefully we'll get a bit of an update in there as well for the specials and the various things. As I said, it's a quiet week, to be honest, this week. And it's a short week purely because, well, Andy's not here.
I'm on my own.
Matt's on his own.
I've got other plans.
Oh, right. And stuff as well. So anyway, that'll be up with you on Friday as well, part of the TFI Friday show if you want to join us for that one. Lovely. Right, okie dokie then, mate. If we're all done, we'll call it quits right there. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Please take care. Happy modelling and stay safe. Bye.